So today I'm going to be reviewing the Cobra Forged Tec irons. They actually have two models now. So the original model was just the Forged Tec. They were a good iron, but I think Cobra identified that there's probably a market for a slimmer version, a little bit more of a player's version, and then a little bit more, a larger version, a bit more forgiving, a little bit more powerful in flight. And that's what they've done this year. So they've gone with the Forged Tec X and the Forged Tec. So having those two models should allow you to separate, a little bit more if you want to get into a hollow body iron, but you're not sure whether you should be more of a player's guy or more of the traditional game improvement shape. I'm going to grab some numbers today with both of them just as a nice initial review. Try to give you guys an idea of who would fit into each one, and then compare them to my own 7-iron numbers. So I started off with a quick warm-up session. Hit some irons of my own T100 7-iron, which is very traditional in loft, not hollow, just kind of a cavity back iron. So pretty typical numbers for me. Usually high 120s ball speed. Launch and spin are pretty much where they normally are. I mean, I might usually see about 6,000 spin, but we're within a couple hundred RPMs of where I normally am. And it's usually about a 185 club for me on the golf course. So pretty typical numbers for me. That's what I see from my 7-iron, which is a 34-degree 7-iron. We're dealing with something much stronger when we deal with the Forged Tec and the Forged Tec X. So we'll see what the differences are, and we'll come back and compare these numbers once we're done. So I'm going to start with the Forged Tec X here, which is obviously the slightly larger iron, a little bit more powerful in flight. I would expect to see probably this be a 200-yard 7-iron. So as I said, about a 185 7-iron is my typical with my irons. Quite a bit stronger lofts here. We got a lot more ball speed coming from a hollow design. So I'm expecting to see possibly a 195 or a 200-yard 7-iron here. I overdrew that one a bit, but that flew, looked like about 203 or 204. Yeah, 204, and obviously a little bit of a hook, but that's pretty crazy. Wasn't the best strike there, and that's part of what you might want to expect from irons like this. I mean, I didn't hit that the best. A little bit of a clunky strike. You still get a lot of distance out of these when you miss-hit them. You can see that strike is very high in the face. That's a much better strike. Just kind of easily flying this 200 yards. Yeah, interesting. That was a heel strike too. Still got a great result out of that 200-yard 7-iron. That's the best one I've hit so far. Strike felt really good. Kept it down the kind of left center of the green. It's crazy. That's really just flying 200 and change every single time. Good strike, 202. Closer to 5,000 spin there, which is good to see. So when I don't turn it over, we get a little bit more spin. That's a peak height of 117. That's a very high functional ball flight. Descending angle of 48 degrees. Lots of distance when you turn. I mean, if somebody plays a draw with these, that one just went 210 yards with a little bit of a draw there. Now, I left that one a little open, but I really struck that well. That's quite amazing. So that's 204. Just can't get over how high the ball is flying. It just looks like it's coming in from the moon on that. So it's actually slightly in the heel. 117 feet of peak height again. Close to 48 degrees of land angle. I mean, these are very high flying. They should be pretty soft landing even though the spin is low. It's a very functional ball flight, just picking up a ton of distance. It's a 15, 20 yards over my normal 7-iron. Now that one I almost topped. That's amazing to see it actually get to the ground. I almost topped that. You'll see how low the strike is. So that miss-hit performance is pretty impressive. And that one's hit really well. Really good strike there to finish with this club. A really good strike. Seems like I can hit 206 to 210 in the air. So that's the highest ball speed so far, 110 feet in the air, really high 46-degree land angle. Again, the spin's low. You just have to accept that. The spin is going to be closer to a 6 or 5-iron in traditional senses, but when it comes to landing it soft on the green, you should be more concerned with the amount of ball speed it's getting, launching it high in the air, and then the descending angle is steep enough that it should stop on most greens. So, the distance pickup is never free. You do have to sacrifice a bit of spin, but as you can see, it's landing on the green with plenty of control. One thing I want to do just for fun is I want to hit one kind of as hard as I can, because this thing looks like I honestly think I could hit like a 237 iron with this. So put a little bit more juice into that one. Wasn't the best strike, but that's already flown 215. Just swinging a bit harder at it, basically, is all. Almost 140 ball speed. That wasn't even the best strike. Okay, let me do one more. I hit that a little better, although I didn't turn it over. Look at the height of that ball. So even with a push, flew that 210. I mean, those two were just for fun, just to show you what the club is capable of, but pretty amazing. Close to 140 ball speed on both of those. Close to 20 yards of difference. Obviously, yes, we have a lot less spin, but you look at the peak height on the left, top left there. The blue flight, which is the Forged Tec X, is actually flying a bit higher. It's flying a bit higher than the air than my own 7-iron. And that comes from the ball speed. It's obviously launching lower and spinning less, but it's got so much more ball speed that it ends up with a higher flight. And the descending angle is only 2 degrees less steep. So 47.8 with mine, 45.8 with this. And it's actually averaging, as I said, 2 feet higher with the Forged Tec X. So it's still a ball flight that will land on a green soft enough, but it's just getting there a different way, and it's giving you quite a bit more distance. Okay, so going into the Forged Tec model, kind of like what I mentioned, it is a slimmer design. Sole's a little bit more narrow. You set it down at address. You notice a little bit slimmer top line and quite a bit less offset. So it's going to suit the player that prefers kind of a little bit smaller look at address. Good first hit there. Yep, actually flew 200. It was a little bit thin. That was struck better. You can see how high that's flying too. First one was a bit thin, but that one was struck well. It's 200 right on the dot. Pretty good strike there. Turned it over a little. Lots of distance. Yep, I think the 198 to 200 yard carry is pretty easy with this. It feels really good off the face. It's both of them, to be honest, for a hollow iron, they do feel pretty good. I'm using a Bridgestone BX here, which is a firmer ball. So even with the firmer ball, I would say the feel is pretty nice. Sounds very powerful off the club. If you were worried about the firmness of a hollow body iron, you could definitely play something like a Pro V1 instead to soften that up. But as I said, even with this firm ball, it feels pretty good to me. That's the best one I've hit with the Forged Tec so far. Straightest. It's just amazing how easy it is to get 200 yards out of this iron. That's hit pretty well also. So yeah, comfortable 195 or 200 I think is right in this club's wheelhouse. I'm going to finish with a couple fast ones just for fun. See what we can get out of this club. That was actually mishit a bit, so slight mishit high in the face, still performed really, really well. So I would say this one is also quite forgiving. You're going to get more forgiveness from the bigger head of the X, but there's still a lot of forgiveness in this smaller one. I swung fast on that one. There you go, almost 210. So it's got plenty of pop on it, this one too. One thing that jumped out at me right away is the flight of the Forged Tec actually ended up being slightly higher than even the Tec X. So 112 feet total for the Forged Tec versus 109 for the Forged Tec X. I mean, a little bit more loft will always help you get the ball in the air, but this one seems to have a really nice balance of ball speed, a little bit more spin, a little bit more launch. Obviously the loft helps that, but still tons of distance. I mean, you're only giving up 3 or 4 yards over the X, which is extremely powerful in flight. So I really like that Forged Tec. I think that's a great iron for such a large segment of the market. I think if you're that mid-handicap player that maybe just wants to get some more distance out of it, you don't want to go all the way, to something enormous. You don't want to play a big kind of game improvement iron. I think the hollow body hides the technology so well. The feel of it, the sound of it, I'm sure you guys heard how nice some of those strikes felt. The address position just looks quite traditional. A little bit more top line to it, but other than that, it's just such a good looking iron. Not too long, heel to toe. Gives you the confidence to strike it and not worry about missing, but at the same time, I think it just looks, has that kind of player's look that people aspire to play. So Yeah, I got to say, I think the Forge Tech model is extremely, extremely good. Nothing to take away from the X. I think the X is also a great iron, and it will fit a good category of higher handicap players also. But if you're in the market for hollow body, you're somewhere, you know, looking for distance kind of as part of your game improvement strategy, you're anywhere between, you know, like a, I don't know, 5 to 15 handicap, I would give these a very serious look. Don't just go straight to another company that you know makes good hollow bodies. I think TaylorMade P790 makes an amazing club, but give these a chance. I would give these a shot along with everything else because you may be really impressed with them. And I think looks-wise, from the back badge, you know, to the address position, these are some of the best looking ones I've seen in quite some time. So yeah, that's kind of my initial thoughts on these two irons. I think they did a great job. You can see the performance difference between my own 7 iron and these is very significant. You know, you're looking at 15 to almost 20 yards of distance. You still get as much height as you get from a traditional 7 iron, so you don't really need to worry about stopping on the green. I think they're worth considering for a wide variety of players. So guys, let me know what questions you have about the irons. Happy to fill in any details that I might have missed. But as I said, overall, I think they did a great job with these, and I would encourage you to go out there and test them. Thanks for watching.